Hello, and welcome to our presentation, Fill in the Gaps, the Rise of the Afrocentric Library Collection. My name is Brenda. I am a library technician at Toronto East Detention Centre, or TEDC, in Toronto, Ontario. Due to scheduling, I will be presenting on behalf of myself and my colleague, Dhara. Firstly, we'd like to acknowledge that this presentation was created and recorded in the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit and the traditional territory of other Indigenous people, including the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat. This land continues to be the home of many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Scarborough, a part of Toronto, is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit in 1805, as well as the Williams Treaty of 1923, which was signed with multiple Mississauga and Chippewa bands. We believe that it is important to acknowledge this land because it has a rich history before colonialism that has been ignored for too long. We must also continue to uplift and support Indigenous communities and celebrate their strength and resilience against the oppression they have and continue to face. So much of the work that is discussed today is based on some very important statistics. According to the annual report of the Office of the Correctional Investigator 2012 to 2013, Black inmates are one of the fastest growing subpopulations in federal corrections. Over the last 10 years, the number of federally incarcerated Black inmates has increased by 80%, from 778 to 1,403. Black inmates accounted for 9.5% of the total prison population, up from 6.3% in 2003-2004, while representing just 2.9% of the general Canadian population. Discrimination, often covert in nature, within the institution has become a barrier for Black inmates. The investigator also noted that the core correctional programs did not reflect the experiences of Black inmates, and when ethnocultural programming was offered, it was on an inconsistent basis. Black inmates were also overrepresented in segregation and were subjected to nearly 15% of all use of force incidents. So when we shift this focus to the state of Black inmates within the provincial system, the findings remain troubling. According to Owosu Bempat et al. 2021, nearly 1 out of every 15 young Black men in Ontario has experienced jail time, compared to the approximately 1 in 70 young white men that have done the same. Black men were 5 times as likely as white men to be incarcerated and were more likely to live in marginalized neighborhoods in Ontario. Black men spent more time behind bars than white men for similar offenses. Black men experienced higher rates of being transferred from a provincial to a federal institution than white offenders. Young Black men between the ages of 18 to 34 had the highest rates of being in the prison system, 7,000 per 100,000, compared to the 1,400 per 100,000 for white males in the same age range. Even though this study used data from 2010, these findings don't seem to have improved within the last 11 years. So with those statistics in mind, I'd like to discuss TDC's general collection, and more specifically, what's missing from this collection. As with most prison libraries, much of our collection is made up of donated material. We receive books from local community members, organizations, and often staff, which include a large percentage of mystery, thriller, science fiction, young adult, and a variety of nonfiction. Receiving free books is always welcome and very much appreciated. But very early on, I started to notice some concerns. We were getting little to no books that were of true interest to our dominant population, as well as receiving complaints regarding relating or identifying with the available content. From my standpoint, funding to help alleviate these issues was, and continues to be, difficult to come by. By January of 2020, the general collection consisted of approximately 1,500 to 2,100 books. Within this number, only 50 items, or 37 titles, were written by and about African, African Americans, and or Black popular and influential persons. It can be no surprise that concerns continued, seeing as the collection still had a major gap. My colleague Dhara would play a crucial role in filling this gap in TDC's general collection. With the establishment of the Afrocentric program collection, Dhara wanted to be able to offer a wide range of books comprised of nonfiction and fiction literature, written by authors of African descent. Its main purpose is to provide an opportunity for Black inmates to obtain literature and tell their story, not his story. She notes, Black inmates are in constant need of reading material that they can relate to. However, despite their overrepresentation within the prison system, the presence of books that depict their story and history and experiences are almost non-existent. Without access to books that share their stories of historical achievements, self-empowerment, biographies, and love, Black inmates will continue to feel excluded. Both Dhara and I knew that this part of the Afrocentric program would require us to work together. As the library technician, I really needed to think about the role the library will play in this endeavor. I find that running a prison library can be sometimes correlated to putting out constant reigniting fires. Even though I had known about this gap in the collection for a long time, I found it almost impossible to dedicate the time and resources that it deserved. More importantly, I felt that such an undertaking required appropriate representation and expertise, which I knew I did not have. As such, when Dhara began developing the Afrocentric program in its attached library collection, I knew that it would be crucial for me to take a backseat and provide support. For us, support looks like assisting in collection development, which includes acquisitions, collection maintenance, which mainly consists of repairs, and being available for advising/consulting. The way Dhara and I have established the role of the library has allowed the Afrocentric collection to be autonomous while also being integrated into the library. This means that while the library houses and provides attention to the collection is separately run by Dhara. She maintains control of key aspects of the collection, such as inmate participation and loan periods. Together, Dhara and I are, slowly but surely, fulfilling the informational needs of our inmate population. Having such a focused and designated collection has demonstrated some important and crucial advantages. Firstly, it has promoted inclusion and diversity within the available items in the library. This collection has allowed many of our inmates to relate and identify with the content, allowing for more honest interest in reading and additional programming by Dhara. It has also broadened the general knowledge and awareness of Black history beyond the month of February. Furthermore, it has provided access to the literature that has been absent within our institution for a long time. Prison libraries often struggle with issues of intellectual freedom and access, and we're so glad that we're tackling this within our own institution the best way we can. Unfortunately, with the good comes the bad. We regularly struggle with lack of funding and support, especially when it comes to replenishing or adding new books to the collection. Additionally, Dhara struggles to get scheduled and dedicated hours to run programming. For the Afrocentric program in general, it has suffered a decrease in support for its other aspects of programming, such as mentoring sessions. What connected Dhara and I was the understanding of how libraries work and function. Having worked in a public library before, Dhara understands the time needed to conduct tasks such as acquisitions and technical services. Unfortunately, it's been difficult to make certain levels of management understand this need. And as we all know, there's more to libraries than just providing books. Prison is not the most stress-free environment. Standard procedures, particularly at TEDC, do not allow COs to run programs, nor is there any expectation for correctional officers to work with programming staff on long-term projects. So what Dhara is doing with the Afrocentric program is pretty much unprecedented and has met with a lot of resistance. The work culture, whether individuals wish to acknowledge it or not, often supports the mentality that it's the CO versus the rest of the staff. I believe that COs often consider themselves as a separate entity within the institution and will separate themselves from the rest of the staff. Working peacefully and cordially with CEOs is sometimes a struggle. So I've been really fortunate to work with Dhara, who wants to move beyond the status quo. So what's next for the Afrocentric collection? Recently, we were informed that the collection is in line to receive external funding from a national organization via upper levels of our ministry. This dedicated funding will be directed to increase the number of items in the Afrocentric collection. The downside is that we don't know when that will be implemented. We could potentially be waiting years for this to happen. However, I'm optimistic that it'll be worth the wait. We also have goals that will be working towards. To the best of our abilities, will we continue to maintain the solid working connection Dhara and I have to make sure that the Afrocentric collection continues to be a success. I know it will be of great benefit for the continued expansion of the Afrocentric collection as a whole, and to one day have its own dedicated space for its collection and related programming. In speaking with Dhara, I know it is a wish of hers to see similar programs implemented at other institutions with a similar need. With Dhara's outreach to the Black community in and out of Toronto, they have provided incredible amount of support and have donated many of the books currently in the Afrocentric collection. Our hope is that we can continue to maintain these supports and establish new long-term supports from other players in the local community. So with that, we hope that you have enjoyed our brief presentation today. Thank you all for joining us. And I'd like to take a moment to also thank Dhara for letting me drag her into this presentation and for allowing me to be a small part of the Afrocentric program. It has truly been such an honor to witness and support all of her hard work. If there are any questions regarding the presentation, or if there's any interest in donating to the Afrocentric collection, please feel free to reach out to us at the emails noted here. Thanks again, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.